I'm Emily. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of background for just a moment about this talk. When I submitted the application for the two of us to talk, Rica and I talked about what we wanted to say, and everything was going awesome. So we were like, we're going to have this great talk about how we reimagine this particular Department of Ed site, and it's going to be awesome because we used Agile and everything was great. It has since gone downhill tremendously. So one of the things we wanted to do today was we wanted to be very transparent and very honest about what happens when you try and put Agile into a federal government website. It is not the beautiful success story that sometimes we like to paint it to be. Andy had an awesome presentation. Half of that shit, I was like, God, I wish we had known this before we started this project. So today what we want to do is kind of take you through what happened with us. And kind of give you some pointers as to how to do this in the federal space because it's a lot harder than you think it's going to be.
Right. And then quick show of hands. How many people work in the federal space right now, whether for the government? Okay, cool. So hopefully a lot of this stuff will resonate with you guys. For people who don't work in the federal space, this is kind of like a look behind the curtain of all the extra things we kind of have to encounter. So we go next. Like Emily mentioned, we are currently working on a Department of Education project, and today we wanted to share our story about the good, bad, and the ugly, specific to the federal space. So for our project, the good thing was we shipped. Like, we actually shipped, and that's super exciting, because that doesn't always happen. The bad was, our process was a little rough, and then as Emily kind of hinted, the ugly is, it was, super rough, and we're actually at it again with the same client, same project, just different task order. So again, the good, going from zero to hero, we want to start our story by taking a step back and going to the summer of 2016.
So the Department of Ed client had an old, tired site that we actually had done in Big Deloitte. We call it Big Deloitte, not digital. We want to make sure that we know who we are. But the original site was done by Big Deloitte, and it was using a very, very, very old framework 10 years ago. So we decided to introduce them to the awesomeness of human-centered design. We threw in some rebranding to create something that people would really kind of want to use because the site was using old branding, and obviously with federal government sites, they're not usually the pinnacle of cool, awesome, cutting-edge design. So new colors, groovy new logo, cool stuff like that.
Just to quickly piggyback off of that, the designer in me wants to say, not only did we refresh the visual component of it, we also wanted to remind people what this project really was about. It wasn't about the data, it wasn't about the website, it was about the people that this program served.
We upgraded the tech stack from Oracle Web Server, which was something that I learned basically when I was in college, literally 20 years ago. We upgraded it to Bootstrap and Angular framework, which was really awesome because one of the things that the site couldn't do was be responsive. So these are for people working out in the field, and they were not able to actually use the site that they needed to be able to use on their mobile devices. So we said, hey, we're going to do responsive web. We're going to use Agile. It's going to be awesome. You guys are going to be able to do everything you'd ever want to be able to do on this site where you need to be able to do it. Best part was we introduced them to Agile methodology. Anybody here know what IVNV is or worked with IVNV?
Or are IVNV? Any IVNV people in here? Okay, cool.
So for those who are not in the know, IVNV is when a company, Deloitte does it, company comes in for another company doing a project for the federal government and basically looks at their work to ensure that they're hitting all the requirements. So we want to kind of make sure that things are on the up and up. So I come in as an IVNV to Rica's company, and then that way I ensure that she's not cutting corners. And I'm kind of keeping an eye on her code as sort of this disinterested third party, if you will. Oddly enough, we did this whole project with them last summer, and it was awesome. They loved it, the client loved it, everybody was super excited. We were like, man, home run, high five, this is super cool.
Yeah, so the colors are really off, but for one of the things, or one of the indicators of really great client satisfaction to me, at least personally, is the amount of emojis she uses, or he uses, when you're texting back and forth after she does a big event around the product that you built. If you count them, there are 6, so we were stoked about that one. And then that second phone on the right, that fuzzed out picture, we're federal because we do that, is actually a picture of our entire team. So the client team, the IVNV team, our digital team, and our Deloitte account team. And that was taken at the end of the project. Everyone had big smiles on their faces. And our client actually printed this picture, stuck it on her wall, and basically committed to looking at our faces every single day. So that was another one of those like, yay, we did good. So super stoked after we shipped that first chunk of our product. But then shit hit the fan. So like Emily said, we kind of reworked our presentation for you guys today because we did want to share kind of our lessons learned that we learned in a very short amount of time.
We're still learning.
We're still learning.
We're
still in it.
Literally, this was changing last night. So our presentation is very agile.
Yeah.
Project less so.
So one of the things that, one of the external forces that we had to deal with that was out of our control is the change in political climate. We're in DC, things happen across the river, and what's happening across the river affects the Department of Education, our client, very, very directly. Let's go to the next slide. For federal folks who probably know this already, what was the joke that you brought in there?
Yeah, what's slower than a congressional bill? A contract that has to come out of a congressional bill. So it took us months just to write the contract. And then when we finally re-won it this past fall to start this up again, they basically said, yeah, okay, so here's the deal. You guys can get back to doing your Agile stuff on the website next year. So literally we launched the first part of the website, and we already have bugs in it, we know this. We have to wait 18 months before we can start working on it again. This is not Agile. We literally launched something figuring that we would be able to change it, and then we were told, yeah, no, by the contract, you can't do that. You can't touch it until next summer. It launched this year in January, February, so
yeah, January.
We've got 17 months of waiting to figure out what's going to be coming next.
We have users that are saying, like, please fix this thing, and we're like, oh, sorry, we can't.
Not the contract. Yeah.
And then this happened too. So we were in such a good place, with IB&V and our client. And then at the kickoff for this like chunk we're doing right now, you know, they
had an agilectomy. I mean, they totally just freaked out. Agilectomy happened with them, and it was like somebody else took their brain out, and they came back for us to restart some work with them, and they were like, "What do you mean we're going to be agile?" I was like, we just went through this last year.
And you were happy. So it came kind of as a surprise to us. We did not see this coming.
And we basically figured that part of this is because we probably moved a little bit too fast and a little bit too furiously. I mean, our studio really kind of believes in doing Agile, you know, the right way, the way that we're designed to do it. We tend not to think about things in waterfall fashion. And what we realized was when we got together with them last summer and we kind of shoved all this Agile stuff at them and we said, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, we probably kind of went a little bit overboard with it and in a sense scared them off a little bit. Because what we're trying to do is to bring together somebody who's extremely risk averse. I mean, IB&V, their whole job is to make sure there are no risks in the product. And we are trying to apply Agile to that, and Agile is about nothing more than consuming as many risks as you possibly can in the moment and failing fast and then learning from that. And this goes completely against how IB&V likes to work. So to recap, just to give you a little bit of heads up, overview, 6 months, we did all these things together. It seemed to work pretty well, but we had problems with it. So we said, okay, what happened here? Like what actually happened? And then what are we trying to do right now to get this back on the rails? Because clearly we have to do some work to try and fix this, and this is kind of where we're at right now. I mean, this is really how we feel at the moment. So who here has ever shipped anything that's 100% bug-free? Has anybody ever actually created a piece of code that's bug-free? That's what you like to say. If you know anything about IB&V, that's the only time they'll sign off on something.
Yep.
So we actually had to ship something in 6 months that was 100% bug-free. That does not work in an Agile environment, right? There is no such thing. We have to get rid of this guy. What's really crazy about using Flash in a product for the federal government is that the Flash goes in, and then of course there's certain things you can do in Flash and certain things you can't do in Flash. And for whatever reason, those technical glitches, those technical things that were holding it together suddenly became requirements. So when we attempted to pull the Flash out, we were like, you don't have to do this anymore. It's not a requirement. And they're like, no, it is a requirement because it was in the old site. And it was like, no, it was in the old site because Flash only did that thing. We don't have to do that anymore. But no, it's a requirement now. So it's this crazy thing, like mind-melding thing where you're like, what is going on here? This is nuts. our users of this system are people. They're not data people. We are trying very hard right now to figure out how we consume data and share data with them. These people don't even really want to be using the system. They want to be out doing their jobs. So that makes it really kind of tough. And again, as we already talked about, we're tabling our next iteration for at least a year. I mean, that is not even close to Agile. That is so waterfall, it's ridiculous. We're over
Tabling our fixes too.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a whole list of fixes that we need to be able to do and put into place. We can't touch them for the next, I guess we're down to about maybe 9 months now.
Only 9 months, guys.
Yeah. And then our last thing is, how transparent is too transparent? One of the things that we try to do to pull IB&V into this was to give them access to our Jira board. Don't do that. Don't do that unless you know what you're getting into. It's a very scary thing that happens when people who are risk averse actually get a chance to get their hands on your Jira board. Would not recommend this one. They're watching the sausage get made and they're freaking out. I wrote that late one night last week to Rica, and she was like, agreed.
Yeah, no, all of the things, especially the Jira bit that Emily just said, makes me really anxious. So I am the product manager for that for this project, and so I'm the one who has to deal with IB&V. And it is tough, but last week we kind of sat around, just because we've had all this churn and all these heated debates and conversations between us and that particular team. Last week we kind of sat around and stared at each other and were like, what are we going to do? How do we get back to that emoji high? How are we going to fix this? How can we be friends again? And we're all designers, we're all creatives, we're all devs. So we kind of went back to Agile. We reiterated not only our product but our process as well, which meant giving access to IB&V, letting them, really embracing them and making them part of our team. We invited them to every single Scrum ritual we had. So they don't come to our daily Scrums. They said that was a little too much, but they go to all our backlog grooming sessions, our sprint planning, and every other, usually internal meeting. They're invited to, and they can see anything and everything we do. We also started building. I mean, like Emily mentioned, they want everything to be at 100% bug-free, but that's just not how it works. And so, our developers are we're building slowly, but we're not waiting on anybody.
Doing a little bit of rogue coding on the side here and there.
We don't tell anyone.
Don't tell them about it. Yeah, sometimes that works.
And we also had to embrace Waterfall. That's not our favorite thing, but we know that's what makes IB&V comfortable, which then makes our client comfortable. So we said, okay, well, we'll try blending the two. So if you, because not even Agile fixes everything, and I kind of want to fix the slide, and maybe it's not even Scrum fixes everything, because after Andy's talk, we realized that I think Agile can fix stuff. We just have to maybe repackage or recommunicate, or repackage how we say and explain things. So we're taking our favorite Agile processes, taking what we have that the federal government gives us in terms of Waterfall, and we're trying to blend them as smoothly as possible, but you never know. So we'll let you know how that turns out.
So one of the things we realized when we kind of came up with our Agile methodology for them that we're slowly rolling back out is, we have to be okay with churn. I mean, as developers, as a team, we've had some back and forth, and if this is what it takes to get IB&V and the client to feel more comfortable again with that process, we have to be okay with that. So sometimes we end up doing something and we say, this is exactly what we're going to do, and we go forward and we get ready to start working on it, and then things are going to change up. That's okay. We can't be pushing back and go, no, in Agile we're just going to go ahead and ship it, and then we'll fix it later. Sometimes we have to churn on a little bit, and that's okay. Agile is a practice. It's like yoga. It's not one style or one way that's going to fix everything for us. I love the quote that Rica came up with, which is, not every day is a handstand day. Some days we're not going to be able to get there. So in our case, it kind of feels like it depends on the week and the time of the day and the phase of the moon as to whether or not we're going to have a good conversation around Agile or not. So we have to be okay with that, and we have to accept that that's going to be kind of our new path forward, our new normal with them, as I like to say. And then, just in the day-to-day, we had to absolutely change up some stuff with them very tactically.
So some quick things that we're trying right now. We kind of shifted how we organize our Jira board. So we now do Kanban for design, Scrum for development, and we've accepted the waterfall-ish incremental releases. Again, if this makes IVNV comfortable, it makes our client comfortable. Hopefully everyone gets a little closer to the emoji high that
and
we had.
when we say incremental releases, we've been going from like 2 weeks to 3 months, and we're cool with that. Like, that's fine. If it takes us 3 months to get it out the door,
Yeah.
then that's going to be our iteration.
And again, we brought IVNV into Jira. They see everything we see. They can't touch anything, but they can comment, but they can't edit because my Jira board is beautiful. I'm not going to mess with it. And then, again, we built an extra time for discovery and testing. We recently just pushed our schedule back just so we can do it right. I mean, we only have one shot at this. We don't want to wait 12, 16, 18 months to fix anything. So we just built it in right now.
Yep.
Oh. So the last thing we want to kind of leave you with is, especially in the federal space, federal government loves documentation. So you write Agile into that contract, and not just like drop
it's not a line
sprint
item.
schedule or what, some like thing that like the cadence or whatever. You need to kind of articulate and write in like the spirit of Agile. So that flexibility, that fail fast, succeed faster kind of mentality needs to be written into that contract.
Yeah, and we say when dealing with the feds, make damn sure to document everything. As we've already seen in other federal spaces, it goes beyond dropping graphics of sprint schedules in the contract, but the whole thing needs to be in there. I mean, I think we had maybe a paragraph or two in our contract that we were going to be doing Agile.
Yeah.
The problem is doing Agile means a lot of things to a lot of different people, and with the feds, it's a big difference between doing Agile one way and doing Agile another way. So you need to probably be pretty specific about that. And if all else fails, be Agile.
Call it a day.
And try again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That is it.